This is Rich. Hey, thank you. Thank you. You know, I've checked Headhunters, everything. I really have. I've looked at Headhunters. I've gone through every avenue there is out here. Just career. It's foreign to me. When I relate the experience, it's solid. No, it's not the economy. I heard the same thing while I was up in Lake Forest, and I had more business to know what to do with. And so, I don't understand. I don't understand this environment. Never had an issue with adaptability or anything. And I'm sorry to say, but for some reason I'm learning about incorporated norms, which are quite a bit different than I've ever experienced. And, you know, I've covered a lot so far, so there's no reason to repeat it in these earlier videos. I've got enough slots to finish this tomorrow. And I think I'm just going to let off on this video here. I think that would be the wisest thing. Call it a day. I've got 3 more days available. That's what it comes out to be. It is at the strongest of the strong. Gleaming success. And yet, let me, you know, when I look at this, I've learned a lot. A lot. And I need to be careful about coloring anything. I really do. I've never been a person that's done that. But I honestly have to say, oh, certainly as time gone on now, I mean, when you relate exactly, then I do have to honestly say, back to what I was mentioning, yes, down south here, it's completely out of context, no matter how clearly you communicate. It's like, it isn't as intelligent in that respect. I have to admit, I really do. It's the erroneous, it's the information you're relying on too. If you're receiving erroneous information, and I have to say yes. It's misdirected, it's erroneous context, and honestly, as I learned that, I think I'm going to do this video here. As I've learned this, I've never experienced that up in Lake. I mean, maybe a bad employee. I mean, you know, I've had experience of the most solid business practices in the healthiest context. I mean, direct and exact context. And I understand that's a very significant challenge. That's what I'm an expert in. Whether it's EQ, quality assurance, I mean, it's available in many, many fields. It's the most significant, I have to admit. I mean, it's a completely different environment. That I have learned. It's much more politicized, and I mean powerful politicization to an extreme degree. The special interests, like I've mentioned in other reviews, I have never experienced anything like this up north. And yet down here, everything always leads to medical. To an extreme degree. Not only psychology completely on steroids, but the medical. These special interests are very powerful. And I've repeated that over and over again. Do they really have the ability to bring you down to your knees? Take me as an example. Head on. This is an area, but what I've experienced what I have seen here, I've never been a person who struggled throughout my entire life. Never. And you pick up the pieces and you continue moving forward. I mean, it's growth. For me, it's building on curiosity, but it's growth. Indefinitely. And I have to say, absolutely, the South is not exactly what we all have the same amount of energy to utilize. There's high-level substance, and if you're receiving erroneous information or misdirected, but it's incorporated. It's incorporated. And I've never experienced that. I mean, maybe some people, but the vast majority of people, I'm really used to, and I'm very, very fortunate that way. I truly learned from other people what is truly about myself, and I can discern the difference. Oh, one thing that I have never experienced up north is these very serious boundary violations. It takes a bit of time, but oh yes, and I'm talking about misdirected and erroneous from highly educated. I'm not saying that just to anyone. I'm saying out here, the most highly educated is misdirected. It's very obvious that the corruption there's a lot of it. It's a completely different environment, and I'm used to people who are gifted and highly value honesty, integrity. Down here, like I say, no. You come across some people with those personality traits, but this, what I've reviewed, I don't know how much more there is to clarify, other than I have gone over it 2 times. I've gone over it 2 times, and I'm wondering at this point, how much more is it worth to cover it? When I mention psychological malpractice, you can go back in the earlier videos, and I've explained it. I hope I have. Without any question, if you really listen to what I'm saying, where I come from as a final calculation, that's medical, psychological. I honestly have to say, as an incorporated norm out here, I never would ever believe to say medical malpractice is very common. I would never believe that up north. It wouldn't happen. It wouldn't be tolerated. And I have to say, honestly, the basis of psychological malpractice, when what I've experienced down here, particularly with that one individual, it would be corrected up north. This would never happen. Never. And consistent with what I can prove, my background, absolutely. When you calculate it consistent with the north, it all equates to psychological malpractice. When you look at the big scenario, and as high level as I have climbed to expect corrections, I've communicated very clearly, and it keeps coming back to psychological malpractice. Now, you wouldn't do that to someone with the background I come from. That I am able to hold on to. That will never be taken away. It can be taken away just like that. The special interests are so powerful, and the corruption is the political environment. It's incredible how it's an area where it would never be tolerated, a political environment like this up north. And yet down here, fully incorporated norm. I don't know how much closer you could get to federal. I hope that's an accurate perception. And so, let me go further in clarifying some things. I don't know how much more there really is to clarify here. I'm going to wait until I wake up tomorrow after a dream. That's how much more time I have here. Got 10 minutes. I gotta fit it in there. Let me tell you, I wouldn't harm another person. It would be unthinkable to harm me. That's the background I come from. I would never harm you. Yet I honestly have to say, what Robert McNulty did to me is serious stuff. Serious. I have not entered into that, what does he call it? Restraining order context, but I'll guarantee you, I'll leave it up to you whether or not he stalked me. That's serious stuff. That is serious, and you dig down deeper, and he's going to deny it all. And I can absolutely say I've retained everything to substantiate that. He may deny it, and I'm very good at bringing in third, fourth, fifth parties, which would be extremely convincing. You can never change what I've retained, though. You cannot change that. And eventually, there's no way around it. I understand that is certainly not a joke to take chiropractor Naprathy. I have to admit, the way I spoke to him was very much in a professional context. So that would be a reciprocal response. But something just tells me that all of what he shared, he was a bully. I remember that now about him a little bit. Never was with me. There's nothing in our past for him to get me back. So what is really behind it? It would take a psychologist. But the most likely scenario that I can honestly say, what he related about to me, it certainly has to do with professional context in chiropractor and Naprathy. And I'm not just saying that. It's consistent. And I will take a very estimated guess that if any psychologist were to take a look at that, what's really behind that, I will guarantee you, I'm taking a guess what he related about. He used their career success to gain control over me. But it's really what's behind it. And I honestly have to say, you bet it's decades ago forward in chiropractor Naprathy. Absolutely guaranteed. I guarantee you a psychologist. I am very much aware that this is relative now to chiropractor Naprathy. And over the decades, I am going to say that I experienced someone I knew, and anybody who were to know him, it's drugs. Dr. Jekyll, Dr. Hyde, what, to bankrupt me and destroy me, God forbid? I have everything to substantiate. Everything. I have retained all records to fully substantiate what I'm stating. You take a look at, each of those scenarios as they unfolded. It was gaining control over me for a completely ulterior motive. And it escalated. And it escalated involving other people. Getting the banksters back? Come on! Really? His goal was to bankrupt me or destroy me? And he continued and continued. It was 3.5 years by the time it was said and done. It's absolutely not coinciding in any manner to the context he led me to believe. This was not a joke in any manner. I couldn't figure the guy out. But how serious is this now? If I end up homeless, I'm going to guarantee you he's going to be in a whole heap of trouble. I don't want to harm someone. Depending, I understand this is actual psychological malpractice that occurred down here. My medical records were falsified. I clearly communicated a very reasonable request that's written in law. The funding is received. It's from the highest level of expertise. And the only thing that was committed, what I understand truly, is psychological malpractice. That's no way to disqualify anyone. And the thing that I can prove is what's true about my background for over 35 years. This individual, I don't even question, there's plenty of human studies professors. Plenty. I have absolutely the highest level. There is no way to disqualify falsifying medical records. And I can already say, absolutely, there's absolutely no resemblance in those medical records consistent to what I have shared with you that I can absolutely prove. It really comes out to be psychological malpractice. At least where the norm I come from. The norm I come from, that context, is psychological malpractice. Plain and simple. I've presented it. I'm happy to clarify it. I am not legalities of an attorney. I have never experienced immunity in my lifetime. But I understand that immunity is waived. When you look at the depths of what I've shared, and I've repeated this so many times, I'm not going to do it again. I'm going to take it, I'm going to sleep on this and see what comes out in the dream tomorrow. And how much more can I am not a person that would ever fit the description of a person that ends up homeless. In fact, it's unheard of. And what I'm aware of, I've repeated it now, and I'm going to repeat it again. If you put me back on the Skullland North Shore again, in that exact same setting, I would incorporate very quickly, especially for my livelihood, God forbid, I would incorporate with those top business leaders just like that. And I'm not just saying that. I am being thoroughly honest. I am willing to have anyone assess that experience I gained in my career. I have ran it by many people. Clearly, did I injure myself or was I injured? Am I confused in any manner? And my understanding is I'm very healthy. I injured myself coming down here. I absolutely admit that 100%. I came down here. I have really worked my headhunters, everything. I've done everything in my power. The mistake I made, staying down here. But that doesn't make up for the injury on me. And it is unheard of for someone to be put in a position of absolute survival that they must make a split decision in absolute survival to hold on to what's true for over 35 years. You'll be taken away just like that. I've heard about these stories all the time. I have no interest in getting involved in any of this foolishness. None. If I'm put, because I come from that background for over 35 years, and what's Deerfield is 25 years? I mean, I would incorporate, I have been as honest as, absolutely, I'm a business person, and I mean fully validated. That same substance, up in Lake County, I've been at it for 8 years out here. It's unresolved. It's not a medical issue. And unfortunately, down here, everything is medical. I've never experienced such spectacular medical corruption. Honestly, it's not even worth repeating it anymore. I've repeated it many times. And it's really been a long day for me. I've got 3 days. And you bet I'm getting ready. That psychological malpractice is an injury that was done to me. Not me. It's an individual where it's very obvious how loud the medical continued to escalate. The further up I went, the louder it got of why all of this happened. There is not immunity. This is a very high-profile example. Just recently, you have to come in from the outside. And there's no way. The reason that the likelihood is very high with me is you can't change what's been true, and I've shared it all. I've shared it all. All I know is there's absolutely no truth to any of it. I don't even question. I didn't believe it, and I wouldn't even consider it from the start that was falsified medical records. But when I look at it today, and as I've disclosed fully what's true about my background, it's been quite a bit of time to reflect on what's true about my background now. It's, some of that stuff goes back to, 2, 3, 4 decades. And when you really look at what it makes me appear like, it makes me appear it is an invalid that's teetering on literally coming from a psych ward or some really very much, some center where they're not, it's impossible. It's impossible with me. Yet it could actually hold up in court. I've heard about crazy things. That's very common down here. It is complete corruption. I would never want to know about something like that. And yes, your freedom certainly can be taken away from you. The only way that I can relate about what's true about my background is what is true. And I don't even question, when I mention psychological malpractice, when I add it all up to what I have heard over the decades up north, that's exactly what it is. Oh, it's very challenging to prove. It's impossible. It's impossible. It's outright falsifying medical records and outright psychological malpractice. When you really understand the basis of that, I understand when I've related it to people, it's serious stuff. That's serious. And with me, there's a very good chance that I insist the truth comes out here. Absolutely. I don't know anything about immunity because I've never experienced that, but I understand you cannot do that. That's a serious, it's a felony to do that. And you got someone that you'd never in your right mind do that to someone with a background because the truth always comes out, everything taken in consideration. I'm very fortunate, and I will not let go of that. I'm going to absolutely, fully disclose who I am. I will never let go of what's true about my background, is who I am, and be transformed to something that has no resemblance. There's a whole science in that respect. And I know exactly who I am. This is serious. This is not but everything's the most serious disorders down here. That's the biggest thing that I have found down here. Everything's a serious disorder. God only knows. If I knew that, and I will absolutely, in survival, make sure that will absolutely not occur with me. In absolute survival, there is no way. Oh yes. There's no truth. Extremely powerful. I didn't know it. I've heard about things like this before. The most serious boundary violations, as I stated earlier, complete irrelevant stuff. You got them. You got them. I've repeated them, and I may repeat them once or twice more. Although it has been a long day, I still got 3 more days by skin of my teeth. I don't know, it could be any time after 3 days. That is it. I've been ground down to my knees. That's not medical in any manner or psychological. It is not. It's unheard of. And yet, so thank you. Thank you for getting to know me. I'm happy to meet with anyone. As long as the truth comes out, I have nothing to be concerned about in that respect. I know what I've learned is true about my background. I've experienced up north only the truth. Everything taken in consideration, non-existent down here. Thank you. Thank you for hearing me out. Thank you for getting to know me. It's all there. I mean, how many times am I going to repeat this? I want to clarify this. I'm going to leave a couple more slots to dream the next 2 or 3 days here. Next 5 days, however long. All I know is the utmost importance for this truth to absolutely come out. That's too highly impressed on me. That's the only thing I know. Thank you for getting to know me. And I'll pick it up tomorrow after the first dream, and I'll update exactly where it is. If there's anything more. It always comes out in dreams. Thank you for investing the time and getting to know me. My name is Richard Moss. You know where I came from, of course. You know all about me now. Everything. Thank you.